This time, it's all about two girls. Are you ready to face the fear? I was 19 years old when this happened. I had graduated from high school but wasn't settled in any particular job, just sporadically working part-time jobs whenever I felt like it. And mostly just hanging around aimlessly. At the time, I had several groups of friends from high school, and that day, we gathered at one of these friends' houses from one of the groups to lazily pass the time. This group was quite well known locally for being troublemakers. I wasn't strong in fights and didn't own a motorcycle, but I hung out with them occasionally because the group's leader was a childhood friend and lived very close by. As the night deepened, we decided to go test our bravery. None of us believed in ghosts and weren't scared, but on our way, we joked about picking up any girls we might encounter to join us. One of the guys came in a van, so all 6 of us climbed aboard and set off. Of the several bravery testing spots, we headed to the nearest one, a graveyard in the mountains, with the graves spread uphill. When we stepped out at the entrance, we saw a white figure at the very top of the graveyard. On closer inspection, it appeared to be 2 middle school-aged girls. Their hair was long and unkempt, looking almost like doll's hair, a detail I still remember. Their hair covered their faces, making their expressions unreadable. Though their features differed, they both looked strikingly similar. They appeared white because they were wearing summer sailor-style school uniforms. Where they could have come from was puzzling. To exit from that place by car would require driving further up the mountain. Yet, there appeared to be no one with them. They approached us steadily. Normally, you'd expect anyone, let alone a group of delinquents, to be unnerved in such a desolate graveyard, yet these girls, expressionless, continued to approach us until they stood right before our eyes, striking a chilling fear into us that was beyond reasoning. It was just sheer terror. The others felt it too. "Where did you girls come from?" Leader M asked. With expressionless faces, they simultaneously pointed towards the mountain's summit. A wave of dreadful sweat broke out over us. Then, abruptly, a dog with cataract-clouded eyes ran up, followed shortly by an old man who seemed to be the owner, saying he lived nearby and always walked this path. Seemingly naturally, the 6 of us and the girls started walking with the old man, who led the way and talked to the girls. Kicking up the earth, the old man noted, "This is the grave of the unclaimed dead. See how the grave markers have fallen over there." After exchanging a few words with the girls, he left without looking back at us. The girls then spoke to us for the first time. The old man just told us there's an even scarier place ahead, where lots of cursed straw dolls are found. Want to go check it out? Honestly, I didn't want to, but I couldn't just say no, it would be too scary, because a middle school girl suggested it. We ended up taking the girls in the van to go see it. During the ride, we tried engaging them in conversation, asking how they ended up in such a remote place. Around that time, the cruel practice of abducting girls, being violent to them, and leaving them in the mountains had become an infamous trend known as Roko Oroshi. "If anything like that has happened to you, we'll help." M tried earnestly to communicate, but they just shook their heads without expression, only guiding us without saying a word. They didn't look like they had been harmed, but I wished there had been a reason for their presence. Why would such young children emerge from the mountains? Yet, they didn't speak to each other, just led us monotonously. Finally, we reached the shrine that was our destination. It was my first time there, and it was many times creepier than the previous spot, a small shrine surrounded by tall cedar trees, but the girls walked deeper into the forest at the back of the shrine. With rapid steps, Kay whispered, "Didn't they just ask the old man about this place today? So why do they walk so confidently in that direction without hesitation? As if they'd been here before?" It was chilling. Yet, we couldn't just leave them behind and run away. We hurried after them, but their pace was so fast that we adults had to jog to keep up. Suddenly, the girls stopped. Looking where she pointed, there were numerous holes in the cedar tree as if nails had been driven into it. No, looking around more closely, it appears that most of the trees in the area have holes. And finally, we found a straw doll. Ignoring us, who were at a loss for words, the girls remained expressionless and said nothing. "Let's head back, you all must be tired too, I'll give you a ride," M said, trying to mask his fear. But the girls replied, "This isn't the right place. There's a better spot, let's go there." We were speechless. "Let's just stop this." Finally, I burst out. However, it seems the big guys weren't about to show fear just because a middle school girl suggested it. "Alright, let's go." With that single statement, the girls about faced as sharply as military personnel and retraced the path we had come. In a panic, we followed them. Kay seemed to agree with me, his face pale as he muttered repeatedly. It's a trap, this must be some kind of trap. They're taking us somewhere. Kay's pale face and his muttered words started to frighten me as well. We all piled into the van. Em tried to turn on the car stereo, but it wouldn't work, possibly broken. An uneasy silence continued, but no one spoke. Only the girls' directions echoed in the van. The place we arrived at was a shrine located on a small hill. To reach it, we had to climb a staircase that wrapped symmetrically around the hill from both sides. Whether you climb from the left or right, the distance is probably the same. Without a word, the girls split off to the left and right and began ascending. There had been no plan made in the car, nor did they make eye contact or gesture after getting out, they just confidently headed off on separate paths. Of course, the stairs leading to the shrine were surrounded by a dense forest, eerie enough that even in groups, most women would hesitate to enter. Yet, these middle school girls began striding confidently, without hesitation or fear. Clearly, something was off. In a panic, we split into groups of 3 and followed each of the girls. I couldn't hold back and spoke to the girl in front. Something is wrong with you guys. Why were you there in such a place? If you were testing your courage, you aren't scared at all. Why were you there? I asked persistently, growing frustrated with her silence. Perhaps because I had asked too insistent, she murmured, "We're looking for a place to die." That was the first time she looked into my eyes. But rather than looking at me, it was as if she was looking through me, far into the distance. Then she slightly smiled. At the edge of her mouth, saliva shimmered faintly. It felt as though I had been drenched. I looked around at the other members, all their faces pale. But the only one who saw the girl's eyes and saliva was me. When I felt nearly ready to flee, we reached the summit. The other group, too, had just come up from the opposite side. M rushed over, his face white. "Did you hear? Did you all hear?" It seemed M and the others had heard something similar from another girl. For now, despite the girls saying they weren't ready to return, we took them back to the van. Back there, I pressed them hard about why they wanted to end their lives, but no answers came. "Don't do something foolish. Is it bullying? Tell us who they are, and we'll handle it. Don't make any hasty decisions." Our questions were met only with shakes of their heads. "So what's the cause then?" "Nothing special." "Nothing special? It seems like you just don't care about living anymore." Again, their expressionless faces gazed distantly, making them look even more alike. "Anyway, I'm tired too, so I'll just drop you guys off. Tell me the way to your house. I'll take you there," M said firmly as the girls got out of the vehicle. As if they were local kids, they alternated directions, right, left. Finally, they both said, "Here," simultaneously, almost as if in harmony. There were no houses at the place we stopped. "Are you sure this is it?" "I'll drive you right to your doorstep," M said, but the girls just said, "This is the place," and got out of the car. It looked like the backside of the shrine hill we had visited earlier. The road had twisted and turned quite a bit, although we hadn't driven far. By now, we all felt sufficiently creepy, and it seemed we had fulfilled any obligation, so we tried to drive off. Just then, Kay shouted, "Look at that." The 2 girls were heading towards a hole that opened up in the woods, like an entrance on the backside of the hill with the shrine. "They're planning to climb again." M honked the horn. Their heads slightly tilted to achieve a perfect left-right symmetry. Even though it was too dark to see their eyes, they seemed to be faintly smiling. But what really caught my eye was the way the corners of their mouths gleamed as if damp, and I couldn't help but yell, "Run!" After that, I sped away in the car. Kay was muttering something again. That's why that shrine was a bad idea. What's so bad about it? Irritated, I found myself shouting again. Those kids couldn't reach the high branches of the cedar trees. They couldn't hang from their necks. It was chilling. Stop saying such grotesque things. The voices of other friends were also uneasy. D, who had been quiet until now, suddenly piped up as if realizing something. "Hey, when do we do the wardrobe change? It's already November. Why were those kids wearing summer sailor uniforms?" I don't know what happened after that. I think on that day, we all stayed at M's house and tentatively checked the evening paper. As far as I remember, there were no articles about found suicides or missing persons. Only Kay seemed unable to sleep, his eyes empty as he sat in the corner of the room. After that, I occasionally hung out with people from that group, but strangely, no one ever spoke of that day. And since that day, I haven't seen Kay. I wasn't really part of that group, so it was the same for the others. But I keep thinking about the traps Kay was muttering about, wondering if we were being led into one. The thought that it might have been us being led somewhere terrified me. I was the only one who heard those whispers. Those girls, it was such a trivially eerie story that piqued curiosity, wasn't it? They followed them to the shrine on the hill. Did they eventually fall asleep, I wonder? Maybe the viewers should go check it out soon too? Be careful of the suspicious girl in the mountains. Then, let's meet again for another scary story next time.